Okay, we're going to talk about the rules of debit and credit for a minute. Okay, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take everything that you think you know about debits and credits. So all the layman's terms that you hear out in the real world, a debit card, a credit in your column, take all of that, wad it up, and throw it out your brain. Okay? Because what debit means as far as accounting goes, and you'll need to keep this straight in here forever, debit means left and credit means right, and that's all it means, okay? So I've illustrated this in a T account here. Okay, a T account is just a visual explanation of a representation of what's going on in an account. So you'd have the account name on top here, and then you'd have this little T, and debit is on the left side and credit's on the right. So that's all that means. Okay, now we're going to talk about what I mean by a natural account balance. Now what natural account balance means is if this account increases, which side does it go to, the debit or the credit? Now if it goes to the debit side, then that means the debit is its natural balance. If I increase it and it goes to the credit side, then it's a credit natural balance. So this one I've illustrated with cash. Cash is an asset account. Okay, an asset means it's something that provides you with future benefit, something that you own, you have rights to, that's going to provide you future benefit, and cash is an example of an asset. Okay, so cash has a natural debit balance. So when it increases or when cash comes into our company, it's going to be a debit. When cash decreases or leaves us, when it goes away, when we pay a bill or we pay our employees, that's a credit to cash. Okay. Here are the rules for the natural account balances for some accounts, okay? For purposes of this class, these are the only ones you're going to need to know that are natural debits, okay? Assets, withdrawals, and expenses are your natural debits. So you see that there's a plus sign on the debit side on each of these accounts. That means if we increase that account, it's going to be a debit. So remember we said cash was an asset. If cash increases, that's a debit. If cash decreases, it's a credit. The same thing works for withdrawals. If you take money out of your account, that's a debit to your withdrawals account, okay? If your expenses increase, those accounts are going to be debited, and the opposite is true if they decrease. Okay, there's a nice little mnemonic here for this so you can remember it. The natural account balances of the following accounts, assets, withdrawals, and expenses are debits, and there's your mnemonic, A-W-E, AW. So if I were doing a test, the first thing I would do is write down before I did journal entries, AWE. And I know if those accounts increase, they're going to be debits. That's their natural balance. Okay? Now the opposite is true for these accounts. I don't have a nice little mnemonic for you, but you know it's everything else, okay? Liabilities. Okay, liability is something that you owe. You owe somebody money or a service or a product. Okay, a revenue, we all know what that is, or equity or capital, okay? Those things are going to be natural credits. So if we increase those accounts, it goes to the credit side. Okay, and here is a basic journal entry form. When you do a journal entry, you debit the account name on the left-hand side of your paper, and you put the number in the left-hand column. Okay, and then you indent the credit, so it's over to the right. So remember, credit means right. So you indent it over to the credit, and then you also put the number associated with that indented over to the right. So the debits are left aligned, and the credits are indented over to the right. Now you have to have at least one debit and at least one credit, and they have to balance. Now that doesn't mean you can't have two credits and one debit or vice versa. You just have to have one of each, and they have to balance. Now make sure in Cengage when you're working on that, it's not going to tell you or make you, because it's a computer, indent the credit name. But in reality, if you were to write this out on a piece of paper, the credit name would also be indented. If you pushed both of those account names over to the left and just made the numbers be left and right, that would be wrong. Okay?